Dan Foley, from one super fan to another, was last night's elimination episode, was that a day you've been dreading or a day you've been looking forward to see what really happened?
Any person that plays Survivor and walks out of that game with a smile on their face, they weren't there to play. And I'll tell you right now, I exploded in a stream of expletives at the beginning of my exit interview, and I'm a little surprised I didn't show any of that. I was livid. I didn't want to see Ponderosa except from a distance. So, no, I could care less about the whole experience. I was there to play. I was there to win. That's what I came to do. I wasn't happy. I was not happy skipping down that gangplank. Not at all.
Wow. This season has gotten some flack for having too many villains. Do you think there were too many villains, and were you one of them?
Oh, there's no two ways about it. I was portrayed as one. I'm not happy about how I was portrayed. No getting around it. I think Survivor did me dirty. I didn't want to make a big deal of it. I didn't want to talk about it too much, but you know, I speak my mind and I call it like it is. I'm a fat guy, and when I was a kid, I was the fat kid, and the fat kid never does well in school, and I got picked on, and I got picked on a lot, and I learned to stand up for myself. And I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from or your gender or orientation or anything else. If you push, I push back. And they showed me pushing back. But they didn't show anybody pushing me. And there was a lot of very, very out-of-context things that took place that I really got the short end of the stick on.
What are some examples? Like, what's one or two examples of when you think that happened?
The perfect example was with Rodney's mom, the comment about Rodney's mom. So it was the leaking water bucket challenge, and I had actually passed out after that challenge. It was so hot that day. And we get back to camp, and I'm laying in the shelter. Everybody was being very patient and very considerate with me. And Mike looks at Rodney and goes, "Are you going to do anything today?" Oh, I'm sorry. We had been talking about, you know, when you're friends and you're messing with each other and you make fun of your mama and your mama jokes and all that. And then Mike says to Rodney, he goes, "Are you going to do anything today?" And Rodney goes, "Dan, are you going to get out of the shelter?" And I'm like, "Yeah, your mother's a whore." Completely out of context. Now, if you had seen the entire discussion, do I look as bad of a guy now? Probably not. How about the thing with Sierra? When we got the tree mail for the blindfold challenge, I'm like, "Oh, this is perfect. I have arguably one of the biggest voices in the history of Survivor." I said, "This is for me." And Sierra goes, "I don't think so. You don't take direction well." And I said, "Excuse me?" And Kelly jumped on board, said the same thing. And I said, "Well, good luck to you guys." And I sat and so Sierra went up, and we all know how that turned out. We vote Lindsay out. We come back from tribal council, and there's no two ways about it. I was a jerk to Sierra. I was a complete jerk. But Kelly also said the same things I said. But they didn't show that, did they? Because if they showed a woman saying the same things I was saying, well, maybe there might be some validity to my comments. So when I went to Sierra the next day to apologize to her, I told her, I said, "Listen, I'm really sorry. I don't disagree with what I said, but it was just the wrong place, the wrong time. I shouldn't have done it the way I did, but I was still upset." And she goes, "What were you upset about?" And I said, "How you treated me about the tree mail with the, for the blindfold challenge." She goes, "What did I do wrong?" And I told her what she had done and how I felt. And she goes, "Those two have nothing to do with each other." And that's when you started to see when I said, "So let me get this straight. It's okay for you to attack me, but it's not okay for me to attack you." Now, if you had seen that whole picture, now it looks a little different, doesn't it?
Right. So the edit was maybe a little unfair to you, or a lot unfair to you.
It was a lot unfair to me. Oh, there's no two ways about it. I was unhappy. And I knew it was going to go this way from episode 1 because Lindsay and I had that row right from the beginning, but they didn't show what Lindsay was doing to me. They only showed me pushing back. And this on day 2 was my wedding anniversary. And I've never been out of touch from my wife for that long. And I cried. I cried a lot that day because I love my wife and I just missed her terribly. And they didn't show a second of it. And I thought to myself, why would they miss an opportunity like that? Oh, God, they're going to kill me. They're going to make me look like the biggest jerk in the world. And they just set the stage to the whole Shireen episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh, in the where you mentioned that she must not be a fan. She can't do the numbers.
No, I said, I looked at Shireen. What had happened was Shireen came down to the river and started gloating because she's like, I'm the reason Kelly got voted out because I took what you said and I told Jen and Haley and that's why they got rid of her. Well, you push, I push back. And I told Shireen, I'm like, it boggles my mind that super fans like us can't do basic math because 4 is less than 7. Mm-hmm. That had nothing to do with her gender. That had nothing to do with anything other than basic math. If Shireen was a guy, I would have said the same thing. If Shireen was anybody, I would have said the same thing. It had nothing to do with her gender. And my comment about, I wish somebody would just slap her and shut her up. I had no idea that Shireen had domestic violence in her past. I had no idea. And my comment was meant metaphorically. It was not meant literally. I was not promoting violence against men or women or children or dogs or anybody for that matter. I mean, it's no different than somebody saying, God, I could just kill this person. Do you go home and plot murder? It's an expression. And that's all I meant by it. And for the fact that it obviously struck a chord, I do feel bad. I genuinely feel bad about that. But clearly, all of us have big personalities. They cast people like us for a reason, and we all have triggers. Every time they made me sit out, I felt like the fat kid in 5th grade that didn't get picked for dodgeball. And clearly Shireen has her own. At this point, with all my heart, Shireen and I are never going to get along, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes people just don't get along. To quote Rodney, like chicken pie and tuna fish. But with all my heart, I genuinely wish her the best, and I truly hope that she gets the help that she clearly needs to help make herself whole, because I think it would really help her. And I genuinely mean that.
Well, Dan, I loved you on the show. I feel like you're beating yourself up, but you were so fun to watch, just from a fan perspective.
You're a rare individual. I'm not getting a lot of love, man.
Especially the auction episode where you get the White Rock, you get the advantage. I feel like that's when your storyline really took a positive turn, and I'm so happy that you got to use that advantage. But I guess my question is, do you think by using that, is that what made Carolyn play her idol, which ended up getting you out? No.
I really don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think Mike was already spinning webs inside of her head, and Carolyn is sharp enough. She can do basic math. Whether I had that advantage or not, it was kind of irrelevant because there was 4 of us and 2 of them, and 4 is greater than 2. Why wouldn't she use it? The reason why I felt like I needed to use it was because Will had gone to Sierra and said, do you think tonight's the night we should get rid of Dan? And she's like, oh, maybe that's a good idea. And she came running to me and said, Will's thinking about flipping. Now, this is right on the cusp of Will, Carolyn, and Mike going on a reward together with the helicopter ride. So now all of a sudden I'm thinking Will's potentially leaving, and I have to do something. And there's no sense in using my extra vote when there's an odd number of people to potentially make an even number of votes and a split. I'd want to use it when there's an even number of people to cause an odd number of votes to hopefully put the numbers in my favor. And Will also made the comment at Tribal Council, if Dan's got that advantage, he better play it tonight. Well, that just sealed the deal for me. So I felt like I had no choice. And like I said, I'd rather go down swinging than watch third strike go by. I played it. It was, I felt like it was the right time to play it. I got trumped by an immunity idol. I went home. I played the game on my terms, and I lost the game on my terms. I'm okay with that. I'd much rather have it that way than get blindsided.
Oh, yeah. And were you planning to go to the final three with Will and with Rodney? Was that your kind of dream final three?
Not necessarily. I had actually talked about Carolyn, Will, and myself as like a three-caller finish. But when I talk to people as a potential, obviously you're always thinking, which way do I go? How do I move? You can't be cemented in. And you saw me last night, people were like, what are we doing? And we're like, I don't know. And I'm like, who are you going to vote for? Carolyn? Okay, Carolyn it is then. That's it. And so that's why Carolyn was on the chopping block last night for us. But I seriously thought about a blue-collar finish outright, so me, Rodney, and Sierra. I felt like I could have beaten any of those four, any of the four of us. I felt confident. I don't know whether I would have or not. Everybody feels confident that they could have done this, that, or the other thing, but I felt like that was probably my best options.
And watching the show back on TV, you found out that Mike was correct, that there was this four-way alliance with Rodney, Will, Carolyn, and Tyler. And does that change your opinion, watching it on TV, seeing how it plays out? Does that change your opinion of Mike's assertions and of that group of four?
Let's see. Rodney was in a tight alliance with Carolyn, Will, and Tyler. Yeah. Who went home first? Oh, that's right. Tyler did. So I guess he was wrong, wasn't he? Rodney was trying to.
True.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's what I kept trying to tell Mike. I'm like, Mike, everybody's trying to cut deals with everybody at this point. So, I was already gunning for Mike at the merge because I knew he was a threat. I wanted to keep that alliance alive because I figured they would take Mike out for me, and that would secure me a vote on the jury, and I didn't have to do anything. We all knew that we were all coming for each other, but Mike he just went crazy. I know he'll tell you that he wasn't. I know he'll tell you that, he knew what he was doing, but if every single person around you says you're crazy and you say you're not, maybe it's time to reevaluate. Hey, what can I say? Mike's still in the game and I'm not. Good on him.
Right. And Mike has a shot to come back next year, and so does Carolyn. They're both, two of the people that are in contention for the second chance.
Yeah.
Are you kind of bummed that you're not on that list to come back?
Yeah, of course I am. I certainly would have liked to have been considered. I don't know if I wasn't. I mean, I'd like to think I was considered, but I also know how CBS puts things together. They try to build a puzzle piece, and they look for very specific personality types to come back. I'm sure some people are going to say they're disappointed that Jen isn't coming back. Joe, I mean, that's just a lock. Of course Joe is coming back. Joe is beautiful. He's just,
right.
But, I mean, I'm not on that list, so their list sucks. What do you want me to say?
Yeah. If you could vote for maybe one guy and one girl to come back, who do you want people to vote for?
Me.
If you could campaign.
Yeah. Out of the 32 that are available?
Yeah.
One guy and one girl. Troyzan and Kelly Wentworth.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think Kelly Wentworth got enough of a fair shake. I really feel like her dad did her damage in the game. And I found Troyzan very interesting. I actually like Troyzan quite a bit. I would love to see him get another shot.
And hey, on a lighter note, did you ever find out what that strange fruit was from last night? I think everybody wants to know. It was not watermelon, right?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, you had broken up. What that strange fruit was?
Yeah, what was that fruit? Did you find out?
No idea.
It wasn't poison though, because part of me is like, oh, this is foreshadowing. They're all gonna be sick later on.
Actually, what they never showed was the episode where Carolyn, Tyler, myself, and Will went on the cheeseburger reward.
Mm-hmm.
When we got back, Mike had actually found a cormorant that was tangled up in our net, in our fishing net, and Mike killed it, stripped it, cleaned it, cooked it, and I got back and he goes, "Look what I caught." Cormorants are poisonous. It's like eating raw chicken. You can't cook them enough. The locals don't eat them. I had actually done some research into it because I knew we were going to Nicaragua, and I found out about these birds, and I stopped everybody from eating that bird. I would have won the game by default. Every single person would have gotten sick from eating that bird, and I would have won by default. Every single.
So you're not a villain. You're a hero.
Thank you very much. I'll tell you right now, not 1 second, not for a solitary second did I ever think about eating that fruit last night and not sharing it with Rodney and Sierra. Not 1 second. Because there's gameplay and there's humanship. And I feel like I don't know where that line is. I really don't. Is it a good move to have kept it from him? Sure, it's a good move. I'm sorry, it's not who I am. It's not. And that's what broke.
Wrap it up.
Okay. And that's what broke my heart about. That's what broke my heart about Mike at the auction. There's a line between those two, and I felt like he crossed it, and that's what killed me. But I never for a second would I have not shared that fruit with those people.
Right. Well, Dan, thanks so much for talking to us. I can't wait to see you next week at the reunion. The finale is almost here. I can't believe it.
I know, huh?
All right. Well, have a great day.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Yep. Bye-bye.